nothing in my hand to offer for this love. You came to me and gave to me nothing I had earned, nothing I deserve. Lord, you are so good and your mercy is everlasting, everlasting. I give my heart to you, 'cause your mercy is everlasting, everlasting. So good, so good, so good, so good. There's never been a friend as faithful and true. You thought of me on the cross when I did not think of you. You came to me and gave to me nothing I had earned, nothing I deserve. Lord, you are so good and your mercy is everlasting, everlasting. I give my heart to you, 'cause your mercy is everlasting, everlasting. So good, so good, so good. Lord, you are so good and your mercy is everlasting, everlasting. Give my heart to you, 'cause your mercy is everlasting, everlasting. So good, so good, so good, so good. You came to me and gave to me nothing I had earned, nothing I deserve. Lord, you are so good and your mercy is everlasting, everlasting. I give my heart to you, 'cause your mercy is everlasting, everlasting. So good, 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 so good. about you, your light has come. Even in the darkness, the moon reminds me your light shines on. To you I lift my hands, to you I bow and pray. Jesus, how I love your name, most beautiful. Jesus, name above all names, most beautiful. Returning in majesty, then all the waiting, anticipating, will fade into glory. To you we'll lift our hands, to you we'll bow and pray. Jesus, how I love your name, most beautiful. Jesus, name above all names, most beautiful. Jesus, how I love your name, most beautiful. Jesus, name above all names, most beautiful.
Just waiting for some signing in. He started in a few minutes.
this holy place, the glory of your presence. We enter in this holy place, the glory of your presence. We enter in this sacred place, the glory of your presence. We enter in this sacred place, the glory of your presence. Jesus, Jesus, I'm overwhelmed, overwhelmed. Jesus, Jesus, consume me now, consume me now. We enter in this healing place, the glory of your presence. We enter in this healing place, the glory of your presence. Jesus, Jesus, I'm overwhelmed, overwhelmed. Jesus, Jesus, consume me now, consume me now. Jesus, I'm overwhelmed, overwhelmed. Jesus, Jesus, consume me now, consume me now.
Is she on?
You don't sound it. Your voice is deeper than ever. Just kidding. Your voice is always deep.
It's the only difference is we don't have to do it on there.
Somebody told me that I had such a distinct voice. It was like 3 seconds before that.
So then I'll go out there with my mic. So when it's time, I'll go out there with my mic and just play it through this. Test, test. Yeah. Because it's going to feedback again. What's that? Yeah, ultimately.
You don't have to play it.
If they want to watch it, yeah.
I don't think it was weird. All right.
So wait, we got to pull it up, don't we?
Let's just wait till
All right. The weather has been a formidable foe.
All right, check. I'm on.
I'm on.
You
How's
good?
that? Better?
Except your shirt's all messed up. Come on, you can't look like that.
Can't dress them up or take them out.
All right, well, sorry we're getting started late here, guys, but a lot of people are having trouble getting here, and we had all kinds of technical issues. Somebody doesn't want us to do tonight, so that tells me more that everybody needs to be here because we literally have had nothing but trouble all day long with technology and all of that fun stuff. So thank God we're here. Anyway, so we are going to get started. So I think pretty much everybody here, I don't see anybody that I don't know, I don't think.
Anybody not know us?
Yeah, does anybody not know us? Okay, good. Then we'll skip all of the intros and all of that fun stuff. But it is certainly a pleasure for us to be here tonight. This is really, marriage ministry is something we've done for 15 years, and it's something that's really near and dear to our hearts. We absolutely love it, and we're so glad to finally have been able to pencil in some time to actually do some of this. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start with, and we're going to see if our technology is going to let us do it. We're going to just show you a little funny video. Anybody know of Tim Hawkins? All right, he's pretty funny. So we're going to see if we can actually get this to work.
So as to avoid feedback, I'm going to step out here for a minute. So.
Hey, Shirley?
Yes?
3 cars just pulled in. If you want to just give it like 2 minutes.
Okay, so we should wait a minute?
Well, 3 cars just pulled in, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the roads were rough, and people probably went slower.
Yeah, okay, no
But
problem.
I just saw 3 cars pull in.
All right, you
yeah,
get your
the roads
video
are pretty
up.
nasty.
Well, while we're waiting, why don't we pray?
That'd be great.
Amen.
Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be here tonight in your house. And we know, Lord Jesus, that you care about marriages, Lord, because marriage is the foundation of the family, and the family is the foundation of our country. And we just thank you, Lord, for Joe and Shirley giving up their time and their efforts, Lord, to be here and to put this together for us. We pray that you keep everybody safe that's driving on the roads tonight, Lord, and we just thank you for your goodness and your grace and your mercy. And we just pray that you'd help us all to learn from your word, Lord Jesus, and learn from practical experience and just have a good time doing it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Why, hello there. Awful drive, huh? Well, if you would like, young lady, the kid should be right downstairs. Welcome. Great day for a drive, huh, guys? I know. Thanks for coming up.
All right, so we'll get started in a minute here. We're just going to let people filter in.
Let's do we cry, to our Lord Most High, to worship you. Where else could we go? You are blessings for.
I have it up. Yep.
We've come into this place, worship and celebrate our loving Savior. Hallelujah.
Man,
Yep, you're on.
tell me when.
So is that everybody then? Okay. All right. Ready, Joe? We
Yep.
have to kind of sync it. Ready, go.
I did the choreography myself. Hey honey, have you gained some weight in your rear end? The dress you wear reminds me of my old girlfriend. And where'd you get those shoes? I picked them pretty lame. Won't you stop talking, cause I'm trying to watch the game. If you're a man who wants to live a long and happy life, these These are the things you don't say to your wife.
Can you guys hear it okay?
I planned a hunting trip next week on your birthday. I didn't ask you, but I knew it'd be okay. Go make some dinner while I watch this fishing show. I taped it over our old wedding video. If you're a man who done that, a long and happy life, there's all the things you do say to you. Solo, okay. Your cooking is okay, but not like mother makes. The diamond in the ring I bought you is a fake. Your eyes look puffy, dear. Are you feeling ill? Happy anniversary, I bought you a treadmill. You're a man who wants to live a long and happy life, that too. These are the things you don't say to your wife. You're a man who doesn't want to get killed with a knife. These are the things you don't say to your wife.
A little late, Joe. All right. I promise it is actually very funny, if you could actually hear it.
Oh, you couldn't hear it?
I don't know. It was good at first, and then all of a sudden we couldn't hear it. So I don't know what happened.
Want me to play it on the guitar?
No.
Okay. Tracy, can you help? All right.
All right. Why did this just get small on me? Okay. All right, here we go. Why am I getting feedback, Pastor? All right, I'll stand over here. Okay.
Brand new system was put in today. Digital, all the cool stuff, working the bugs out. So
Now it's
Pastor
going
can preach it
backward
well
on me
on
here.
Sunday.
What's going on? All right, hold on. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is have everybody get up. If you came with your spouse, I want you to face this way. Okay? So face this way. Grab the shoulders of your spouse and give them a nice massage and do it like you love them and you're excited to be here. Forget it. Nice. Awesome. Now give them some karate chops on the back. Everybody say, ah.
I'll show you how it's done.
Nice. And then give them some back scratches and purr like a kitty. All right, now turn around the other way and return the favor. Give them a nice little back rub. And some karate chops.
No kidney punches.
Hey, be nice. Don't take out your marital stress on each other. And then some back scratches. There we go. All right, so that's just to wake you up a little bit, all right? All right. So we are going to get started here, and I do apologize for all of the interruptions, but the first thing I want to point out tonight is that we really do have some life-changing information that we're going to present to you over the next 6 or so weeks. But the problem is, unless you actually do something with this stuff, it's really useless, okay? So if you just came here just to listen and not do anything, it makes no sense. You're not really going to get anything out of it. A marriage is obviously a very important thing. It is the foundation of the entire family, and in many ways it's the foundation of our entire existence. And we really need to learn how to master this as much as we possibly can. That doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but in order for it to go well, you have to actually put effort into it. So I just beg of you, just take this information and actually do something with it, and it will be awesome. So we're going to be talking about, over the next few weeks, how to have the marriage of your dreams. Now, that sounds very cliche, and it sounds impossible in many ways. But what is the marriage of your dreams? Well, it's actually a marriage that grows stronger and more fulfilling every year. Okay? If you're doing it right, the longer you're together, the deeper your connection, and really the more fulfilling your relationship will be. But it also takes intentional and purposeful living. Okay? It's not going to happen on accident, okay? You know, if you don't clean your house, what's going to happen? Is it going to clean itself? Can you think about cleaning your house and it instantly gets all organized? Absolutely not. So in other words, you have to do something, take action, okay? You have to do love intentionally. There's actually a book called Love is a Verb, okay? A verb is an action word. That means you need to do something. And you really don't have to lose your individuality to have an amazing marriage, okay? This is something that is often a concern for people. They feel like, well, we get married, then I can't do anything I want to do. That's not accurate. You do not have to lose your individuality. So to be happy and fulfilled does not mean to be without problems. As a matter of fact, problems are an opportunity for growth, okay? We've been doing marriage counseling now for 15 years, and every single time we work with people, we find that if they really persevere and they stick through, their marriage gets stronger when they have problems, okay? In our chiropractic office, when we have problems, guess what? We're about to have a breakthrough, and we're able to help more people and do more things and have a bigger effect. So problems, you should not always be looked at as a bad thing. Now, obviously, we don't want to constantly have problems, but when you have little bumps in the road, it's just an opportunity for you to grow and to be able to actually become stronger as a result of it.
Think about lifting weights. Who here exercises at all? Or did at some point in their life? Okay, fantastic. All right, think about if you want to grow muscles. What do you have to do to get bigger and stronger and healthier? You have to experience a little bit of a problem. That problem is called a weight. That problem is called resistance. Okay, and if you lift that weight, that problem, enough times, and you don't set it down when it's still pretty easy. I've done 10 reps of 5 pounds, and it's not very hard. You set it down, you haven't really grown in any way. If you pick the right weight and you do it enough times, and as they say, when do you grow during weightlifting? It's on, if you're going to do 10 reps, when do you grow? On number 11 and number 12, when you go past the point when you expected yourself to do that. That is when the stress is at the highest, and that is when the growth is at the most. But you don't grow when you're doing it. You're actually tearing down your muscle a little bit while you're doing it, and you grow afterwards, which is very similar to the experiences that we have in life. We have stress, we have obstacles, we have barriers and different things that we deal with, and I'm so sick of all these problems of life. But just like she said, on the other side of those obstacles and those barriers are exactly the things that cause us to grow. So I just thought that was an important thing to really think about, because if you've done sports, that's the only time you'll ever see yourself grow.
Where'd the water go?
What's that?
Can you find the water?
Yes.
I don't know where it took off to. Okay, so do you ever wonder why the divorce rate is so high? Well, there's lots of reasons, but the first one I want to talk about is the fact that we often get really comfortable in our relationship and we begin taking each other for granted and we stop trying to help them and to impress them, okay? So I want you to think about what it was like when you first met your spouse, okay? So you start dating and your current wife says to you, "Oh, honey, will you take out the trash?" And you're like, "Oh, absolutely, I'll get that right now for you." Okay, because you're trying to woo her and impress her, okay? And then you get married, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Honey, will you take out the trash?" "What, do I look like your janitor?" Okay? So you see how there's a little bit of an attitude difference as we go along. So the question that I want to propose to you all tonight is, what would happen if we treated our spouse today like we did when we first got together? Would things be a little bit different? Absolutely. So the problem is that most people think their marital problems are out of their control. And, oh, it's just what happens. You get married, everything's great, you have that honeymoon experience, and, you just want to be together all the time, and then as you grow further apart. Isn't that what most people say? We had the opposite experience, which we're going to share in a little bit, but that's what most people feel. So, I'm going to venture to guess that there are two types of people that are here tonight, okay? First of all, we have those that are very excited and are looking forward to growing. I was actually speaking to a few of those the other night, okay, which is really awesome. But then we have people that are absolutely scared to death, and they came kicking and screaming, okay, because they just wanted to prove to their spouse that this is absolutely not going to work, and that's why they're here, okay? Now, I know that because I know people, and we've done this long enough to know that that's what happens. So let's take a look at what stops people from wanting to improve their marriage. Well, first of all, fear is huge. But the interesting thing is fear is often masked with pride, okay? So they're afraid to grow closer because they're afraid of different things, of getting hurt, whatever. So they put on, a tough person act and they say, oh, our marriage is good. Why do we have to go to that marriage group? Oh, what's wrong with me? You need to fix me? What? I don't need that, okay? So what is pride? Pride is an excessive opinion of one's dignity, importance, or superiority, and it can be in the mind or openly displayed in conduct. So they might not even be saying that stuff. It might just be up in here, okay? And you may even, have a little bit of that as well. It might not just be your spouse. But it's really important that we overcome these things. So why do you think relationships are so scary? What do you think? Give me some ideas.
Girls have cooties.
There you go. What's that? Boys have cooties. There you go. What are some reasons why relationships are scary? There you go. Big word. Vulnerable. Absolutely. Okay. Well, first of all, there's a fear of rejection. Well, what if I try really hard and my husband doesn't or my wife doesn't? Okay. We have that fear of rejection. Fear of opening yourself up or being vulnerable, like she said. Okay? Because to truly be in love, you have to be vulnerable. You have to open yourself up to experience that intense emotion that we all so desire in our hearts, but we're so afraid of because of the fear factor. Okay? So you have to be vulnerable, but you're opening yourself up for a little bit of hurt. But what people don't realize is by not opening yourself up, you're getting a lot more hurt in the long run because you're never experiencing that deepness of love and intimacy and connection. Then we have fear of success, okay? Often you see this in the business realm too. People have businesses, they get a really great opportunity and all of a sudden they sabotage themselves because they're like, oh no, can we handle it? Can we handle the growth? Can we handle the blessing that's going to come on us? It's crazy, but people are afraid of success because they're so used to being in that, just whatever it is that they're feeling. Maybe they're complacent, but they're comfortable. See, one of the things we're going to go over in a future session is the 6 basic human needs, one of which is a need for comfort and certainty. So I might be miserable, but I'm comfortable there, and I don't know what it's like to be happy. That's a little scary, okay? So we're going to go over that in a future session. But also, people just do not feel equipped to handle a relationship. How many people here feel that their parents totally equipped them for marriage and they're good to go? Okay, can somebody raise their hand? No? Nobody. Okay, so there's nobody here that feels that their parents fully equipped them on how to be in a successful marriage. That's because most of our parents did not have a successful marriage. I know that's certainly my case, and we'll share that in a little bit. But that's what our goal is here, is to give you that information you need to have that. And sometimes it's just guilt. I mean, some people really just don't feel like they are worthy to be happy. And that's really sad, but that's very much true. So people will sabotage themselves because they don't feel worthy. So in order to have that awesome marriage, you need intimacy. If you break the word down, it actually is into me you see. Okay? Now that's a little scary because guess what? Most of us don't like ourselves, let alone letting somebody in to see what we really are all about. Okay? And that's part of that fear factor is, oh, what if they don't like what they end up seeing? But the bottom line is they most likely would not have married you in the beginning if they really didn't want to get to know you and didn't really like what you were about. But it's absolutely worth it. So, what is a coward? Okay, we have our nice little friend here from the Wizard of Oz. Okay, a coward is a person that's excessively afraid of danger or pain, lacking in courage. See, the problem is we have a lot of people that are falling into the coward department because they're so afraid of being hurt again because they've been hurt so many times that they can't fight anymore for what they really want and what they really need. But a hero shows great courage, and that's really what we need.
All right, so why do we have icy steps on a beautiful summer day like today? Well, obviously, it's exactly like what we're dealing with out here. The example that I'm going to give, is to try to really understand what a true hero is. Okay, so let's do a little scenario here. Let's say we're going to have a party. Oh, this event right here. Okay, we have some steps out front, and maybe during the course of this, it's sleeting, and it's like this really hazy, glassed over situation out there, and it's obviously slippery enough as it is. And we're having a great time. We're talking, we're celebrating, we're fellowshipping afterwards. And I know that maybe the light bulb out front isn't working because somebody forgot to change it, and the stairs just tend to get really glassed over. And I forget to tell anybody before they leave that the stairs get icy. And no one's really paying attention, they're just having a good time. So as we're fellowshipping, I see somebody going towards the stairs. They open it up, and they're about to step foot on that first stair. Okay, can't really see, it's really dark out there because there's really no lights to do it. And I know that if they slip, they're going to just smack their head on the ground, probably could knock themselves out or could kill themselves. But so I go rushing over there and I grab him. Maybe it's George. I grab him, pull him inside, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Look at the stairs. It's so icy. You would have killed yourself." And he's like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that. Thank you so much." And he's like totally like celebrating, and everyone lifts me up on their shoulders. They're like, "We saved George." Walk me around the church. It's a great old celebration, right? Okay, scenario one. Or maybe I think about it, and I'm like, "Oh, I saw the snow coming down, and maybe it was a little bit, dangerous, conditions kind of settling in. And as the party, the celebration, this time together starts to wear down, we make an announcement. We're like, everybody, before you leave tonight, the lights outside aren't working real well, so as you open the door, look really carefully, grab on the handrail as soon as you get out there, and walk down very carefully so you don't kill yourself on the stairs." And as I do that, everybody walks down carefully, maybe helping each other out, get to their cars, everyone gets home, crisis averted. In which of those situations am I the hero? Number two? Both?
Either.
Okay. Which one does our culture celebrate? First one. Okay? That's the surgeon that goes in and repairs the clogged arteries, and that's the counselor that comes in and helps to save the day for the couple that's about to divorce, or somebody steps in and grabs a person from about to kill themselves sliding down the stairs. Yes, our culture would lift up that first person and say, "Wow, what a hero." But really, which one do you feel would be the better hero? I truly believe the unsung hero, the second one. Why is that? Because preparing, planning, organizing, communicating, applying, all those tools which are pretty darn boring by themselves, but they're effective. And that's exactly how it is in the realm of relationships. Why wait? And that was one of the things, as we were reaching out to people. We talk to hundreds of people every week. And we invited people and talked to them. And many people, unfortunately, that are not here would say, "I've got a decent relationship," or "It's not that bad," and we get along pretty well. And you kind of see them around each other, and you're thinking, not exactly that well. And we might be friends, but there's really nothing of the intimacy nature like she talked about there. But it's not that bad. They're not on the surgeon's table yet ready to have the bypass done. Okay, so they're not looking for that kind of miracle hero to step in. But instead, if given certain information, even in advance of marriage being given, I mean, many churches and organizations and people throughout the world will take, marriage, pre-marriage classes. Not a bad idea, okay? And sometimes they just do it to get their certificate so that they'll be able to get married. But if they were to apply those things, then they would basically allow someone to be the hero by sharing that information. If they apply it to their spouse, then they can be a hero to them. And that's really what we want for people to be today, is prepared, organized, and aware. And if you apply the information, you truly can be the hero to your spouse, and therefore, if you have children, also to your children, because your relationship will so affect your children's relationships. And unfortunately, nobody here raised their hand when she said, who got the perfect example from their parents, okay, in terms of how to have a relationship. Now, maybe there's never going to be the perfect relationship, but it would be nice if somebody could have at least thought a time or two and maybe put their hand up and then, and hopefully our kids can say that about us at some point if we make some differences in how our relationships are and how they see that. So that in 10, 15, 20 years, they could be in a place like this and say, oh, absolutely, I loved watching my parents. It was just great. They were friends. You could see there was passion in their relationship. They loved to share that information with other people, and so on and so forth. And that would be exactly what we want to do to try to change generations in the future.
And that's what we need tonight, is we need a bunch of heroes, okay? And I want you to ask yourself right now, am I willing to step out and be the hero in my marriage, okay? Now, sometimes, though, a hero has to do it alone, okay? Sometimes your spouse is not going to be ready to just go ahead and be the hero along with you. So you may have to step out, take a little bit of a risk and say, you know what, honey? I'm going to be your hero, and I am going to make sure that this marriage succeeds. Now, how awesome would that feel when you finally push through and you're able to get to that level and be able to attain that wonderful marriage that's going to set a great example for your children? But one of you has to be the hero. Which one of you is it going to be tonight? That's what you need to think about. So what does it actually take to be a hero? Well, first of all, it takes humility, okay? Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. That is a quote from Rick Warren, who wrote The Purpose-Driven Life, okay? So it's not thinking less of yourself. So humility is not like, oh, I just don't matter, and okay, I'll just let everybody step all over me. That's not humility. It's thinking of other people less than you think of yourself, but still, obviously, having self-esteem and not beating yourself up. Also, if you are having marital problems, it's most likely that, to be honest with you, you're probably thinking too much about yourself and not enough about your spouse, okay? What you need to have a successful marriage is you need to make your spouse a raving fan, okay? What do we mean by that? Okay, so if somebody back in the day was in love with, Elvis Presley, oh, Elvis, okay, they'd do anything for Elvis Presley. So Elvis calls up and says, hey, can you do me a favor? I need blah, 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 blah. Their fans, because they're raving fans, would do anything, okay? So you need to make your spouse a raving fan. You don't do that by talking to them in a degrading way. You don't do that by abusing them. You don't do that by just walking all over them. You do it by making them feel like they're important and they're special, and automatically that will flow back to you. But if you're having marital problems, say to yourself, is there a way that I can think more of my spouse and his or her needs than I can my own? And I mean, obviously there's exceptions where you have absolutely abusive relationships. I'm not talking about that. But, I know most of you, and I know that you're not in that type of a situation. But you really have to just say, can I somehow make my spouse feel so special that they're never going to want to leave me? They're never going to want to do, abuse me and talk badly to me, okay? Again, you can't change the other person. That's impossible. You can only change yourself. Okay? So even if you're in an abusive relationship, obviously there's getting out of that, but you can't change that person. You can only change who you are and do the best you can with the person you are. And if it doesn't save your marriage, at least you can look God in the eye someday and say, hey, I did the best that I could, and you can feel good about that.
So let me ask you this. Would you be a raving fan if in every argument, disagreement you have with them, that you're always right? I'm always right, Shirley. No, sorry. I'm listening to you, but I can't receive that. Is she ever going to be a raving fan of me? No. Okay? Now, are there times where I absolutely know I'm right, and she's pretty confident that she is, but we both can't be right? So is it better for me to win the argument but lose the war? And that war is kind of, for lack of a better term, that's the marriage, okay? So I could win the argument but lose the war, and the marriage will disintegrate as a result of it. Humility is being willing to look at the other person's perspective and see how they could receive whatever I said the way that they're hearing it. I may have said it a different way, but when those words leave my mouth and they're transmitting through space, and by the time they get to her ears, whatever impact it has on her is what she heard. So it doesn't really matter what I said, it's what she heard. And it's her perspective, and it's her reality, and it's her observation. It's her seeing my demeanor, my facial expressions, and my frustration and upset, whatever else I'm doing, that will basically have her feel the way that she does. So I might have been totally right in terms of what I said, but if she received it wrong, then I can step back and say, you know what, I could have done that a little bit differently. You kind of die on the sword in a sense, and have that humility, and apologize for your portion of it. Feeling a little defeated, walk away, and we've had this more than a couple times. I tend to be that person occasionally. And
probably me
somehow afterwards, even though I kind of felt like I'm the one that kind of met her more than halfway, she comes the other half and then some, 5 minutes later and says, you know what, I realized that, and yeah, you probably weren't all that wrong. I'm defending my position because that's what we do when we're in a disagreement. So humility doesn't mean that you lose. Humility means that take a pause in it. They see your heart instead of your argument in your face, frustration, and then they can come back and the communication and the intimacy of communication, the deeper communication can open up.
And always ask yourself, do I want to be in love or do I want to be right? Joe actually has something in our bathroom on the mirror that says, every time you make Shirley wrong, you're hurting yourself. Because I'm very sensitive to that, because part of it's my bringing up and being made wrong a lot when I was young. So for me, I'm very sensitive to that. And so he tries to remind himself to not do that, which is really sweet. All right, but really, guys, just the fact that you're here tonight means you have a certain level of humility. And I really want to acknowledge you guys for being here. I mean, you could have made every excuse under the sun. We literally are having like a blizzard or something out there. Yeah, actually, it looks like maybe it might have slowed down. But really, you could have come up with every excuse known to man, because that's what the enemy does. He wants to distract you and have you not come. Believe me, I almost wanted to cancel this thing tonight because of this stupid projector and all this other stuff. But you know what? I said, if I have to do it by just my memory, I don't care. I'm going to do it because I'm not going to let the enemy win. All right, but I have to warn you, life will never be the same again if you do what we're going to tell you to do, and that's a very good thing. All right, so now we're going to tell you a little bit about our story, because really the purpose for tonight is really to kind of get things kicked off here. But in order for you guys to really trust us and know that we're going to give you information that's really going to change your life, you really have to understand where we're coming from. Because I would venture to guess that there's a decent amount of people that might take a look at us and say, wow, they're pretty successful, like they get along, they're always hugging in church, like what's the deal with that? And you might think that, oh, what do they know, okay? But it really wasn't always that way. And I'm going to kind of give you a little bit about my side of the story, and then he's going to give you a little bit about his side of the story. But I said that we've been doing marriage counseling for 15 years. That's actually not true. I've actually been doing marriage counseling since I was 13. And I say that because I pretty much had to be a marriage counselor to my parents. I love my parents to death. We have an amazing relationship now, but it was a rough childhood, okay? My dad used to yell down to me. I'd be in bed sleeping, and he'd say, get down here and straighten out your mother. Okay, so I'd have to get up, I'd have to go down, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'd have to try to basically stop them from practically killing each other and try to get things back in order. And so I've been doing this a really long time. And I always vowed since I was a teenager, I remember praying that I would find a man that would love me and would respect me and would love God. And I thank God that I've been given that. But unfortunately, because I didn't live the way I should have lived before meeting him, it created a lot of problems in our marriage. So fast forward to probably about 21 years old, I had a boyfriend that was pressuring me to have sex. And so I went to my mom, and I'm like, oh, Mom, I'm like, this is what's going on. I'm like, what should I do? I was actually hoping she would say, oh, don't do it. Okay, but what she said, and again, this is the best she could have done at that time, and that's okay, but she said, listen, she said, you're a big girl, you have to make your own decisions. And I'm telling you that because, first of all, as for those of you that are parents, your job is not to be your child's friend, your job is to be your child's parent. And when your child asks you something like that, you really want to give them a good answer and really think about it. And again, my mother is amazing. I love her. We have a great relationship, and I don't want to disrespect her or anything. But I feel that I've gone through what I've gone through so that I can help all of you. And so basically I was like, okay, and I felt like kind of deflated because I felt like I didn't have the strength to say no myself, so went ahead and did it, and of course it was awful and just made me feel like a piece of trash, and that was that. So now we fast forward to going to chiropractic school, and first day of chiropractic school, I meet a guy and we date for 2 years. And so throughout that time, Joe would see me out at bars with this guy. We'd be dancing and, and probably not behaving the way that I should. And then finally, I somehow convinced him to start going out with me. Don't really know why he would, but he did. But it was kind of rough at first, because Joe was always just a really nice guy, but I'll let him tell you his not so great side. I'll keep that to him. But, so then as we started getting more serious in our relationship, we actually opened our chiropractic business together before we got married, because we knew it was heading in that direction. So, we tried not to technically live together. That was kind of our, way of trying to do it the right way, but we weren't doing it the right way. So we did have separate residences at one time. But then we decided to go start doing some Tony Robbins stuff to try to figure out kind of like how to run our business better and how to understand people. But also we kind of just had this feeling in our relationship that it could be better. And so one thing as a woman, and I don't know if I'm alone with this, but I've kind of felt like before we got married, I felt like I needed to confess everything I've ever done that was bad to him. Because part of me wanted to say, will you still love me? Okay? And I think that this is a common feeling that women have. But the problem is men are very visual. They're visual in many different ways. And he could not get this picture of me and my boyfriend out of his head. So it really affected our relationship and eventually even our marriage because he was not able to really work through that. So finally, we went to this Tony Robbins seminar, and I had been begging him to let me unload everything, and he wouldn't. And finally, one night, he said, all right, Shirley, I'm ready. And I'm like, ready for what? He said, you can tell me everything you need to tell me. And I just started bawling instantly, okay? I was just like crying hysterical. Because to me, that was saying, okay, I'm ready to accept all of you. And that was really, really a turning point in our relationship, okay? Now, we weren't even married yet, okay? So now we go and we get married, and most people say, oh, when you first get married, it's like you just want to be physically intimate all the time, it's just great and wonderful. It wasn't like that for us. We were just really good friends. We were really great business partners, and that was pretty much it. We could go a week or two without being physically intimate, and we were fine with that. He was fine with that. Because he wasn't able to get through that one picture that he had in his head, all because of me not basically following God's plan for my life and not waiting for my husband. So I basically created my own problems. And so then finally, we basically got to a point where we went to another seminar, and it was another Tony Robbins seminar, and they were offering this one opportunity to be with Tony Robbins. There was only 25 couples, so 50 people. Normally their seminars are 3,000 people, okay? And I'm thinking, wow, that'd be really great, but there's no way we can afford that, okay? So next thing you know, Joe comes over to me and he goes, I signed us up. And I went, for what? And he said, Ultimate Passion. I'm like, Joe, we can't afford that. And he said to me, he said, Shirley, he said, we can't afford not to. He said, what really is more important than our marriage? Literally, this seminar we could have bought a new car for the cost of this seminar. And he said, Shirley, I don't care if we don't have the money. He said, we're doing it anyway. And he said, I love you more than anything. And again, I just started bawling my eyes out. That was the second time that my husband was really my hero, okay? And it was awesome. And we're probably still paying for it. I'm not really sure. But at this seminar... Yeah. At the seminar, though, it really started us getting into really wanting to do this marriage ministry stuff. So bottom line is, through this stuff, it really, really changed our life. We literally spent tens of thousands of dollars for all the information we're going to give you guys tonight. And really, the funny thing is we found out it was all free in the Bible, which kind of bites. But hey, there it is. So we're going to give it to you free. So I'm going to let my husband share his end now.
All right, so she had kind of a checkered, challenging family past, and I grew up in the Brady Bunch house. Okay, it was all barking dogs and fun times and playing on the swing set. We didn't have like 6 brothers and sisters, just my one sister. But it seemed like a perfect, childhood, really. Very close with my parents. They just weren't super close with each other. Okay, I didn't realize till much later. What's the deal?
Can you guys hear him okay?
How's that? Make sure I'm on. I'm good? How's that? Better? Hello? Hello?
I don't think it's on. Now it's on. It's on.
It's on now? All right. So, I probably could have seen some of the signs. I mean, my mom would, often fall asleep in front of the the TV on the couch. My dad would go upstairs. In the morning, my mom would still be asleep on the couch, and my dad would be upstairs. As a kid, you're just like, oh, mom likes TV, and falls asleep there. I think they had a TV in their room too, but for some reason it just was never up there. And that didn't seem strange to me. But long story short, my parents would get into fights and drop some superlative words they learned on the racetrack that they'd share with each other, and we'd hear in the car. And at 16, 17, I'd hear more of this to the point where my mom was starting to have...
It's turned off, Joe.
It is done. Look at that. What's the deal? Okay.
Oh, that's better.
How's that? I'm hot still. Oh, that was very off.
Let's move it down.
Better? All right, you heard all that, right? I don't have to say it again? Okay, good. All right, so more and more fights were happening. We were seeing this happening, and then I was getting ready to go to college in about 6 to 12 months. So, what do you do at the end of like your senior year? But you decide to go with your friends on spring break. So I go on spring break down to, I think, North Carolina somewhere. And I came home, and as I'm traveling back home, my dad calls me and said, oh, we moved. I'm like, what? He's like, we moved. A house I'd lived in since I was pretty much born. I came home from spring break, and we were in a different house. They got the opportunity to sell it, financial distress from different situations. And all right, great. So that was kind of weird. And then, 6 months later, I go to college, and I get the call from my dad. I had a real bad car accident, and oh, by the way, your mother left me, and we're getting a divorce, and I'm moving up to Niagara Falls now from Rochester area because I'm in such bad physical shape. I'm going to live with my sister and my uncle. So I'm like, wow, okay, so this is all kind of coming together in my, sowing the oats freshman year in college, and not the most of perfect Christian environments. So I'm starting to have a lot of upset and frustrations, really angry at my mom at the time, and confused with my dad. He just seemed to be the one that was getting beat up in this whole process. So what did I do to celebrate it? I decided to try to drink myself into an oblivion, okay? So pretty much every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for most of 2.5 years, I was just flat out drunk. And I pretty much learned in the earliest parts of my college career that I think I was allergic to alcohol. You ever see somebody that turns incredibly bright red when they have alcohol? That was me. And after the first one, that would happen, and didn't usually build up a person's self-esteem turning red, so I'd just drink so many more that I didn't even care what anyone thought about me, and I'd be the life of the party. Did such a good job of it that they decided to raise me up to the fraternity president. That was the biggest on campus. We had parties of 400 to 800 people, serving minors and breaking laws all over the place, and feeling like, okay, I'm doing all this, tons of parties, all these celebrations, and not exactly feeling much better about myself, that my parents' situation hadn't improved, my health hadn't improved, even though I was a self-proclaimed health nut prior to going to college and the way I ate and choices I made, but I was killing myself from the inside out. Very angry and upset. I was punching out windows most evenings when I was drunk, and somehow God helped me to survive it all. And I literally quit drinking for a period of time on my 21st birthday when I drank almost a gallon of wine. I don't even like wine. Never did and still don't now to this day. So, pretty much survived that, but by the time I was 21, I herniated discs in my back, which might seem to have something to do with lifting in the gym a lot, but I think it had a lot more to do with the fact that I was perpetually dehydrated from the stupid choices of what I drank in college. When you drink that much alcohol and this little water, because it was like the brown water coming out of the taps at Geneseo, it looked like sandy, I didn't drink any of it. So I pretty much destroyed my back by the time I was 21. So I had to go to chiropractic school, more health-oriented, wanting to be involved in sports and different things, and really not doing as much of the drinking scene, occasionally with the friends here and there, but still not feeling very improved in the sense of my relationship with my mom and my dad, and very upset at the world. So long story short, Shirley and I met early on in our time at chiropractic school. Yes, I did watch her and her boyfriend having a good dating relationship for a couple years there. And I had a long-term girlfriend from Geneseo, and we ended up breaking up. After that, didn't really have any desire to get into a relationship until Shirley convinced me that she would be a good choice. So I decided to start dating her. And as we're getting towards the end of our chiropractic schooling, we decided to go down to New York City to
see the ball drop.
To see the ball drop for New Year's Eve, right? I'm totally stoked. I want to do this my whole life. She's not exactly excited about it, thinking like that Armageddon's going to come and someone's going to kill her down there. So she asked me before we go out, okay? Joe, please don't drink. Or at least don't drink much, don't get drunk.
Don't get drunk.
Okay. And I'm like, all right, I'm okay with that. I just want to have a good time, everything, so on and so forth. And I want to get down there like 5 o'clock so we can be the people right in the front so everyone's filming and we're all there, partying, because I had such a good training routine of how to party. I knew I could do it better than most people. So some of our friends were going to be like 2 to 3 hours late, and we had to meet them where we were at before we could even leave to go to this. So I'm really upset and very frustrated. I'm like, oh, I can't believe we're going to get there at 8 o'clock. We're going to be in the way back, and I'm just going to, just do the worst things in the world to the world, and I'm just going to drink myself into oblivion and just upset everybody else, okay, make them have a bad time. So I did that, all right? We go down to New York City, and I don't remember a lot of it because I made some really stupid drinking choices that night.
Because I had to carry you.
And she had to carry me through most of our trip there, and her little friend, about this tall, little, what was
he
this?
was Colombian.
Colombian guy.
Thank
this guy
God,
knew like martial arts, and he was like
black
her,
belt.
he was her like, hero, okay? I was not.
Yeah.
I was the loser that she was, carrying.
Some homeless guy, literally, I don't know what his intentions were, like to rape me, but it was freaky. And my friend got right in his face, and I was just livid because I'm like, I can't even believe that he put me in this situation.
Yeah. So we get back, I pass out, wake up in the, probably not morning, afternoon, get up, Shirley's there, and she's just livid, as you can imagine. And we have this conversation, and pretty much she laid down an ultimatum. She's like, Joe, I love you, and I think that I could have a really good relationship with you. But she's saying, I've seen too many people throughout the years that have been alcoholics and the trouble that brings, and the way you acted last night and the way you treated me and disrespected me. She's like, I will never have you do that again in our life. And she said, and if you decide to go that route instead of me, then it's pretty much over. And she laid it out there. And I was pricked in the heart and felt like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I felt like it was serving me in some way, and it was not. So in that moment, I changed. Okay, and I felt, again, just like this seminar she talked about, that she was worth more than my own lack of self-esteem, my own beating myself from all the stuff that I couldn't explain through my parents' contribution and raising me and stuff like that, and the questions I didn't have. So we decided to get married and basically invested much time, much resource, and our joint efforts to try to better understand relationships. And to the tune of, she was probably very much on the low end, probably well over $100,000 in terms of expense over 5 years maybe. Did I get lost again here? Over 5 years to try to understand relationships, to try to understand people, and also in that business. And in the process, and like she said, we learned all that and what the world would teach, and then we came in here, and on the first night that we heard, our first day the pastor preached, he talked about some of Rick Warren's information, The Purpose-Driven Life, and he was like preaching over here, and I was sitting over there, and I felt like it was a one-on-one conversation, and that the Bible was being translated for me and given to me for free. And that's why we come from the standpoint that we could talk to people that have never stepped foot in a church and teach exactly what the secular world would teach and have great information for someone, or we could come straight out of the Bible, okay, and teach to people that have, and it all sounds the same. It's just a matter of who you give the credit to. Okay? And really the information is priceless. But we wanted you to understand that that's where we came from. And as a result of those stupid choices, I had some long-term health detriments as a result of the choices I made. But basically in about 15 years, I don't think either of us have had even a sip of alcohol. And if they've ever had communion with real wine anywhere that we've ever been, I haven't even had that. Because at that point, I felt like it wasn't even worth putting it in my body. Okay? So we wanted you to realize who we were, what we went through, and where we're currently at. Definitely not perfect in any way, but we've invested a lot of time and resource to try to understand some simple truths that if shared, and like I said, and she said earlier, applied, can make a major difference in your life. And not having to go through those same things yourself. If you already have, don't have your children go through those same things, because you now have some answers that you can share with them and have very deep and intimate communication and conversations with them that will be priceless for them in the future.
All right, so basically, we talked earlier about 50% of the couples actually who get married actually get divorced. But only 27% of these people say that they're, 7% of the people that are married say that they're actually happy. That's really sad and I think unacceptable. So let's talk about some reasons for divorce. Well, obviously, there's an inability to communicate and understand each other's needs. Excuse me, and that's something we are going to talk a lot about over the next few weeks. Communication is key. Failing to follow God's purpose and plan for your life and your marriage. Spending too much time providing financially for our families and not enough time providing emotionally and spending time together. There's different types of provision, not just financial. And overwhelmed from busy schedules. We know all about that. And financial stress and marital drift. We are going to cover all of these issues over the next few weeks. But tonight we're going to end with just talking a little bit about what the world makes us think love is. Okay? Culture teaches the Hollywood version of love. Okay? You've all seen big, movies that they portray love. What does love look like in the movies? First of all, you have to find the right person, and there's only one person, and they're really hot. Okay? That's the movie version. So then you fall in love, and you have that uncontrollable zing. Did anyone see Hotel Transylvania? They talk about the zing. All right, it's really cute. You got to watch it. Anyway, but it's the zing. It's like love at first sight. Okay? Then you fix all your hopes and dreams on that one person, and they're going to make everything right for you. Then you look to that person to complete and fulfill you, right? Because they're the only one that's going to be able to fulfill you. And if they don't love you, it's just not worth living anymore, right? So, but if it fails, then you have to try again because you must have made a mistake and found the wrong one. But it really couldn't be that maybe you just didn't use the right tools for your relationship. But the true formula for love is what we're going to be focusing on, which first of all, you need to meet someone who is spiritually aligned with you. Obviously, you all know that we are Christian. We weren't on fire Christians like we are now. He went to Catholic Mass just to have quiet time, and I didn't go for most of chiropractic school until I actually asked him to start going with me to church because my boyfriend was acting like a jerk when we went to church together. So that's how we actually started. We started going to church together. He's like, is your boyfriend okay with this? And I'm like, oh, he doesn't care. And so as we went together, we actually felt closer going to church together. Like all of a sudden, I did a lot of bad things. The one thing I never did was I never bounced from boyfriend to boyfriend. I always had one at a time, never cheated on a boyfriend. That was just not my thing. But when we went, all of a sudden I started feeling kind of like, oh wow, I'm starting to have feelings for him by going to church with him. And I'm like, whoa, this is weird. I'm like, I have a boyfriend. I can't do this. And so finally, I actually broke up with my boyfriend because I realized, whoa, I can't like two guys at one time. And I knew this other guy was on his way out anyway. So, but the spiritual alignment is very important because no matter what it is, if you're not a Christian, whatever you are, it's very difficult to have two people in a relationship that don't feel the same way spiritually. It's very hard for a family to grow that way. It's very confusing for kids. So number two, you have to determine if that person's purpose and aspirations are similar to yours. Okay? Do you have similar dreams, similar purposes? Okay? Because otherwise, again, it's hard when you don't have much in common. If you do, then you continue. Then you grow even closer to God together, and you decide to keep your heart and your body pure. Okay? So you don't have to go through what we went through. And then you follow God's plan, respect and honor each other, and maintain honesty within the relationship. And you commit to constantly working on and improving your relationship. See, that's where people go wrong because they think once they get the ring on the finger, they can just stop learning and stop growing and working on it. It's not going to fix itself, just like the house. It's not going to clean itself. Then you have to commit to constantly loving. This is hard because when you're angry at somebody, the first thing you do is you try to take your love from them. And that's one thing we're going to teach you when we get to the disciplines of love is you can never pull your love away because then you have no marriage. Okay? Never can you threaten that you're going to leave your spouse. Never. That is an absolute not acceptable. And that's one thing that we always said, no matter how much we fight, we are never going to threaten each other like that because once you do, you take a piece of that person's heart, you rip it out, and you stomp on it, and you've got a lot of work to do to get back after that. Okay, I grew up with that constantly. Oh, I'm going to leave you. That was my parents. That was their whole deal. Okay, believe me, it's not good for the kids. And then after that, then you get married. And so how many of you have done a really good job at doing it that way? I hear a lot of laughing. I'll take that as not too many. So, but the good news is, even if you feel like maybe you didn't do it the right way, all you have to do is reselect each other and recommit to each other. It's just like when people renew their vows. You can just say, you know what, honey, let's just clear the slate. We're going to start over and we're going to build. And that's really all you have to do. And it's not that difficult when you really put it in perspective. You have to follow God's plan for the family structure. God first, marriage second, kids third, everything else after that. That's a hard one too, because most people put their kids first. Okay? Then if there's a little bit of room for God, they'll put him in there maybe, or maybe not. And then, obviously other things, well, I've got to, run the auxiliary and do this and do that. And then my husband's down here, or my wife's down here. The marriage is the foundation of the family. If that falls apart, the children fall apart, and everything else falls apart. So God is the strength of the marriage, then you've got the marriage, then you've got the kids, and then everything else can fall underneath that. And you have to continue to constantly work on your relationship. Live happily ever after with the same spouse, okay, not multiples. So your marriage absolutely has to be a priority. And your marriage has to be a priority because it's going to give you the most joy in your life. Really, if you have a good marriage, it's going to give you an immense amount of joy. But if you have an awful marriage, it's going to give you a lot of pain, for sure. And a great marriage also sets a great example for your kids because they're going to model after you. Okay? So men out there, guess what? Your kids, if they're boys, they're going to treat their wife the way you treat your wife. Okay? And girls, women, okay, your girls are going to treat their husbands the way you treat your husband. And so do you really want to be responsible for them having awful marriages because they saw such awful examples? So you really need to think about what these kids are seeing and what they're experiencing. And if you don't have kids or you're beyond the point where your kids, they're all married and stuff, you still need to be an example to others. And you can encourage others by your marriage. People should look at you and say, wow, like there's something special about you. And that feels really good when people ask those types of questions. And so basically, we're going to finish up here, just give you an idea of what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. So we're going to be talking about the differences between men and women and why they should be celebrated. Yes, society wants us to think that men and women are the same. They are not. And thank God, I don't want to be a man, okay? And I don't think he wants to be a woman. And probably most of you feel the same way. God made us different, and that's a beautiful thing. It's something to be celebrated. But the problem is, when men are from Mars and women are from Venus, we're like two total different species, practically, and it's very difficult for us to communicate because we have different ways of doing things and saying things. And so we're actually going to translate for you when a man says, no, I don't want to talk about it, that actually means he doesn't want to talk about it. But when a woman says that, it means, I just want to see if you love me enough to keep asking, okay? And that's very true, okay? And so we're going to...
Can you say that again, please, just in case the guys weren't listening?
Okay? And so we're going to talk to you about how to understand what your spouse really is saying when they say it. We're also going to talk about the 5 disciplines of love. There's 5 disciplines that if you put them into your life every day, you will absolutely have a marriage made in heaven. Marital drift. Why sometimes as we get older and we've been married longer, why do we drift apart? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about understanding each other's rules for happiness, because whether you're happy or not is based on the rules that each of you as individuals have created. And we're going to help you figure out what your rules are, and let me give you a hint. The more rules you have, the more miserable you are. Okay? One guy, we said, oh, what makes you happy? Well, every day that I'm above ground and I'm breathing, I'm happy. Guess what? That guy's happy all the time. But if you have to have the stars aligned a certain way, and this one has to say this one, and this one has to, hug you a certain way, I mean, it's just never going to happen. And so the more rules you have, the more miserable you are. So if you are miserable, ask yourself, what are my rules, and how can I get rid of some of these rules? And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about financial stress, because financial stress is actually one of the biggest things that causes divorce. Actually, that's pretty much what caused Joe's parents' divorce, and that's why finances is something that he's pretty passionate about helping people to understand so that it really doesn't destroy your marriage the way that it did for his parents. So, but anyway, so that's what we have for you guys tonight. I'm sorry it probably went a little longer than we had hoped with all the craziness and stuff, but I think we've got our act together for next week. And so please make sure that you've handed in your confidentiality sheet. The purpose for that is because no one's ever going to be made to share anything, but there are going to be times where we're going to open it up for questions and discussion, and I want people to feel comfortable being able to discuss things. And so that's why we've asked you all to sign that. And then we have the other sheet, which is an anonymous survey. I do not want your names on them. Please take your time before you leave, fill it out, because we want to customize this for you guys. If we see that a lot of people are having financial stress, we want to put more time on that. If we find that, there's other things that people are in common or having issues, we want to focus on that. So if you could just fill those out and put those in the basket on your way out, that would be great. And so we just thank you guys. I'm really excited. I really hope that we'll be seeing you guys for the rest of the series. I promise you, we have a money-back guarantee that we will give you your money back that you did not spend if you're not happy. So honestly, if you did pay for it, I would still offer that because I'm that confident. So just give it a shot, and I promise it'll change your life. So thank you guys, and I hope everybody gets home safely.